Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast out there tonight. This is some of our favorite things, right? This is day 5 or night 5, and we are so excited to have Miss Jonily Zupancic here with us today, Miss JZ. Okay, let's get this pole party, rocking and rolling, and let's get what she has to give to you tonight as fast as possible.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we're back. We are ready for story. We're ready for Jonily. And Jonily, tell us where you are broadcasting this evening from.
Absolutely. I am from Ohio, right here in the States. And just on the east side, I was born and raised here, grew up here in the Buckeye State, went to the Ohio State University for college. And so excited. April, thanks so much for having me tonight.
You are so welcome. I have been waiting to have you on here, girl, because you have so many incredible things. And one of them, let's hold this up, let's get this going right out of the way. Making Mathaniers, right there. Making Mathaniers. That's kind of an interesting title, Miss Jonily. Can you share a little bit about how that whole title came about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just kudos to you, April. This was a project that you were able to make happen through the way that you tell stories. And Making Mathaniers is a story or multiple stories about how to live your best math life. So all of us have a math story. We've all had a story from the time that we were a student in school, or maybe we have children, nieces, nephews, grandkids who are in school now. And everyone has a unique perspective and a unique mathematical story. So Making Mathaniers, this book, really draws out the stories of all of us and helps us understand the perspective of everyone's thinking mathematically. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is math really polarizes. So, April, the blog was just beautiful this morning. Math really polarizes. It's just as separating as politics and religion. And it's really a heated subject right now, old math, new math. But what we talk about in Making Mathaniers is how to bring all of those perspectives together and meet the needs of the brain of the child in the classroom. We want to bring math alive in classrooms. We want to foster creativity, curiosity, discovery, thinking, conversation, dialogue, proof, conjecture. Now I'm getting a little bit technical, but Making Mathaniers is about making all of that happen and giving kids the best, most rich classroom math experiences.
That's right. The experiences in math. And I didn't understand really what that meant. And so coming along into this project, realizing that, like, for my mind shift, I just had to think, what do I do every day with math? And how can I make that applicable? That's where my brain went first. And some of the great things that you show, like, hello, a pizza. We've all done the pizza. How many of you are jumping into fractions right now? Hey, pull it back in. Jonily has even more than just your standard pizza and fraction kind of idea. This concept is really getting us to think beyond. And for myself personally, with my math weakness, which has now become more of a strength, when I'm stretching out those numbers across the number line and looking at, wait a minute, what is this really? How am I going to think through this versus my fear math? How many of you have fear math out there? I did. I still do a little bit, but my fear math was like, where can I stack and grab? I got to stack it. Hurry, I got to put it in a stack. I can't do anything with this unless I'm putting it in a stack and grab, an algorithm, something like that. I've got to line it up. It's not lined up. I can't do it. Yeah, that was a lot of the fear for a long time because I had never had a perspective shift to think, oh, the numbers are still going to be there. No one's going to be lost. No one's going to bite me. It's going to be okay. And then just going through the experience thinking, yeah, oh, okay, I got it. I got it now. And it has just been so incredible. I'm going to kind of jump off topic and then come back on. But Jonily, you have research that talks about the parts of your brain with math, they're not finished. Like what we think about like in the early 20s, okay, your brain's kind of done, it's in its place and off you go. Tell us a little bit about what you discovered about those good old math brain stuff popping up in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have really just front loaded so many really great key points. The first one is I loved what you said about the shift in perspective. So if you're a teacher watching this, if you're a parent, if you're a caregiver of young kids, school aged, this is a perspective shift. I tell students all the time, I don't teach math, I teach thinking. And it's really about thinking differently and making sense of numbers and making sense of how big or small the numbers are, which leads us to the question that you asked, which is, what does this look like in our cognitive development? Most of our cognition, most of our cognitive development peaks between 18, 21 years old. And there's a lot of reasons why certain things happen at that time. Either we graduate from high school or we start to become an adult, we're going through college. So there's a lot of shifting at that time because we are cognitively able to handle that as we get to those years 18 to 21, or at least we're supposed to be able to handle that. Johns Hopkins University put out a research study in 2011 where in this study, they said that our number sense doesn't peak. So our understanding of numbers, so just to define number sense for a moment, number sense is understanding how large or small numbers are. The word we use for that is magnitude, how large or small numbers are and where numbers are on a number line. And Johns Hopkins University says this number sense, this sense of numbers doesn't peak cognitively until we're 30 years old. Now, I have a couple of opinions on this, and I won't go into these long drawn out stories, but one of my opinion is maybe it does take that long for our sense of numbers to truly develop. But B is where I sort of sway to more often than not. And that is because do not allow us to build the sense of number. So, April, you talked about grabbing and stacking, and that grabbing and stacking, the single digit math facts, the formulas, the rules, the algorithms, long division, the procedures, I'm going to put that in that camp over here, and I'm going to call that procedural. Another name that I'm going to give that is math ability. Math ability is the mathematics we learn in school. I love what you said, stack and grab. I think everybody can understand that. The rules, the formulas, the algorithms, the procedures is all math ability. And I would say more than half the time, almost 100% of the time, this is what we prioritize in schools. And this is what separates students into the I can do math or I can't. But what we've left out for too many years is this other camp that I call the conceptual camp. And this is where I define number sense, that innate, intuitive, inborn understanding of number. So both camps are absolutely essential. These are not competing interests. And sometimes this is where the math wars start to fight each other, start to battle, is we have to choose one or the other. And that is simply just not true. Both of these are absolutely essential. But if we want students to have the rich math experiences that I was talking about before, we have to give them experiences in both of these camps. What that does is it gives access to all levels of students and not just the ones who are high functioning at procedures and algorithms.
Awesome. Incredible. Incredible. Teachers out there, I am going to hashtag replay and connect you with this, because that perspective shift is important, because we get sucked into, for lack of a better word, from our innocence and our ignorance of, I guess I got to pick here, but I see this happening in the classroom, so maybe I'm going to pick here. Oh, but that, no, don't split yourself between the two camps. Use both, like Miss Jonily said, and try to think a little bit in a shift to think, well, what could I do to see what could experience a little bit more with, with the math. The math that we use is something just, every day. We're always going to use it, right? And what's something is interesting is that now I kind of put some of these labels on some of my math for some of my students who probably procedurally or on a standard test are only testing at mid third grade level, but they're 11th grade high school. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So I'm talking to them that every time we do, and this has a bad rap, consumer math, it has this like degrading value. Oh, I'm only doing this. So I'm like, how can we make this exciting? Because the kids, they're not excited about this. Like, oh, great. So I talk about algebra. I'm like, I can't do algebra. I can't do. Like, really? Every time we go to the store, we're trying to figure out what the missing part is. Did you know that that's algebra? Huh, huh. So that's procedurally kind of that understanding. We're like, oh my gosh, you mean I'm figuring this out? Today, as a matter of fact, we had question warm up prior to a test. Now, their mathematic, we'll say multiplication challenges are kind of great. It's okay. We've got the calculator. I want to know, and when they look at something, do they know what to do with it? That's what I want to know. So we had some experiences today where we were looking at, if so-and-so bought so many salads or so many hamburgers, something of the same thing, what are we going to do with that? And I said, I don't want any numbers. I just want you to think, Mom, are we going to subtract? Are we going to add? Are we going to multiply? What do you think about this? And on their whiteboards, they just had to show me the operation. Oh my gosh. They were thinking, and instead of, and my one student was just like, can you just put the numbers up? It was cute. So I'm like, we're going to keep working it this way, but wow, big Mom, shift and change. Hey, look, I've got a math kid right here who apparently needs me right now. Okay, so Jonily, you share a little bit more about what's going to be happening on Saturday while I see what I can do to take care of him.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is exactly what April was just saying, this idea of consumer math. Sometimes we call it remedial math. So oftentimes when students go to college, and these are our top high school math students, they end up in these remedial math classes. So at some point along the way, there's been a breakdown between our instruction and their learning. So we can imagine if some of our top or high level students need remedial math, what that means for our typical student or our students that struggle, or even students with learning disability. And what we don't want to continue to do is continue to remediate. We want to fill gaps. Now, let me go back to the example that April was sharing with the pizza problem. And I want to give you a how-to on how this works. So the pizza problem is what we call a stimulus. A stimulus at Minds on Math and our process to making Mathaniers is something that's going to stimulate mathematical thinking, but there are some rules involved. A stimulus is either a picture, a situation, it's either a video, a story, it's a number. So a stimulus is something that's going to stimulate mathematical thinking, but the rules are that you need to get rid of the noise, not the noise that you hear, but the noise that forces a student to solve. Remember, I talked about those two camps. And in this procedural camp, the math ability camp, the focus is on answer getting and solving. And that is essential at times. But if that is the only thing that we do, we lose all of the other students that end up in this consumer remedial math. So how do we focus on something other than answer getting or solving? What we focus on is sense making. And that is a big piece of the conceptual camp. This is a how-to on how to build understanding of number and number sense. The pizza problem is going to be an example that does both. So what I'd like to do is share the scenario of the pizza problem, how it is indeed the definition of a stimulus. Then I want to show how this encourages students to make sense, be creative. So all those things in that conceptual camp, I'm getting the students' perspective. They're starting to understand numbers, where they are on a number line, how large or small numbers are, how numbers work. But the pizza problem eventually is going to take us to that procedure. So let me just give you this example because I want you to walk away with a vision of what this actually looks like. So here's the stimulus. A pizza company makes square pizzas. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's all I give to the students. Notice the most important rule of giving and providing a stimulus is to remove any question that prompts answer getting or solving. So typically in mathematics, typical traditional mathematics, we give a scenario or a situation, and immediately after, we ask a question that's going to prompt students to solve or compute. When we do that, we have kids who can, kids who can't, and a whole lot in between. So what we've done is we've set ourselves up for a need to level our instruction. And what that means is I have to be able to meet the needs of all of these ability levels of students. But when I remove the question that prompts answer getting and solving, what happens is I allow equal access to every level of student. So what prompt do I give? Like, what do students do with this? Because the stimulus is a pizza company makes square pizzas. That's it. Here are my favorite prompts. My first two questions: what do you see? What do you notice? So if you're a parent and you're helping with homework, and let's suppose you have no idea what to do. The kiddo has no idea what to do. These are my go-to questions. Well, what do you see and notice from what it's asking? If that doesn't get the students stimulating their talking and thinking, my third favorite prompt are my favorite three words, not I love you. Tell me about. So what do you see? What do you notice? Tell me about this situation. So here's our pizza problem. A pizza company makes square pizzas. Tell me about this situation. What this gives the opportunity for the students to do is to share their thinking and perspective. Well, pizzas are always going to be square. They're going to be the same tall as they are long. So what I'm doing as a teacher is I'm given the opportunity to assess, to figure out exactly what level the student is on so I can target exactly what they need. My next prompt for a stimulus, you might think it would be to ask questions to help students solve pizza problem scenarios. But my next prompt is, what math questions can you create? Yes, I want the students to create the questions and problems. This is not easy. So if you're a teacher and you're watching this is not easy. Kids, it's going to be awful. And I'm going to tell kids that this is really difficult. Usually the teachers are the ones that are coming up with the questions and problems, but I want you to do that. So I have kiddos in kindergarten, in algebra 1, at 9th grade, 5th grade, 2nd grade, 8th grade. And here are some of the questions they come up with. How many pieces are in a 5x5 pizza? Are there twice as many pieces in a 10x10 pizza as a 5x5 pizza? How many of us like crust? How many of us like no crust? How many crust pieces are on the pizzas? Now, what I will do as a teacher is I will start to ask my own questions as students develop theirs. One of my favorite questions for the pizza problem, and you can see how this gets extremely complex right away, but still accessible for students. So I'm increasing the rigor and complexity for my highest level students and my students that are maybe those consumer math or those remedial students. All of them still have access. All of them are still understanding. That's the beauty of the conceptual camp. So the next question I might ask is, how does the number of crust pieces on the outside of the pizza relate to the perimeter of the square? Boom! Like, this is now where I can teach some high level rigorous mathematics, but still in the context that is conceptual, that gives every student access. Every student can draw pizzas on grid paper. They can build pizzas with blocks. They can answer any question, not just my question. So this is, in education, we call it differentiated. It means that I'm able to meet the needs of lots of different students at one time. So in education, this is a perfectly naturally differentiated activity that I, as a teacher, don't have a lot of planning for. I just give the stimulus. Now, there are some fails, there are some user errors, there are some things that we do incorrectly as teachers as we're trying to deliver lessons like this, because this isn't what we're used to. This isn't how we were taught. So this Saturday, super excited about this, Saturday, November 20th, 2021. And let's say you're watching this recording after, like, let's say it's a year later, or you're like, oh my gosh, like that would have been great to do that. I'm going to tell you about that in a moment. But this Saturday, we have our free, totally free Saturday math. We do this once a month for 90 minutes. It is free, but you must register at Eventbrite. And I think April's going to give us the link. But if you go to Eventbrite and you follow Minds on Math, there's the link, Saturday Math November 2021.eventbrite.com. If you go to Eventbrite and search Minds on Math is our company, our coaching and consulting company, which is a support for teachers in schools. But you can also search Got Number Sense, because our focus on these Saturday math sessions is improving number sense. So got number sense? Do you have number sense? If not, come join us. If your students don't, come join us. If you do and you want more, come join us. But if you're listening to this replay and you're like, oh my gosh, that date has already passed, no worries. We do these once a month, and you can always register on Eventbrite. The URL, the website link will be different, but if you go to eventbrite.com and search Minds on Math or Got Number Sense, you can join us once a month and learn more about the stimulus or pizza problem. But this Saturday, we're going to be talking about the fails of math instruction, those user errors. So if we deliver this incorrectly, we could botch the entire learning experience for students. So this is a great session for teachers, professional development, math teachers from preschool to high school, to learn more about problems and stimulus like the pizza problem and how we can deliver them in a way that matches what our students need to learn best.
Incredible, incredible. Look at all of that. A free resource, one time a month, going there, understanding, and this Saturday learning about the fails, so that, it's really good to, I always think of it like the hot stove, like touch that. Oh, you remember. So that was the fail. I'm touching that hot stove. So if Jonily helps us to learn some of those fails, we can avoid that problem that we then have to get out of. We don't have to worry about that anymore. And we can start to shift and change our perspective. The idea about mathematics, it's not new versus old, this way versus that way. The concept is, what can we do to open it up, to get your brain thinking? I tell my students now, thanks to Miss Jonily, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? And sometimes they're really honest. Nothing. Like, okay, well, let's stimulate that puppy. So it's kind of fun to see. what they are learning and doing stuff differently. At first, when I would throw things out there, what did I get? What did I get, Jonily? Oh, right. I got that whole expression the first time. So many were like, can we just stack this? Can I just grab a stack, please, please, please? And I'm like, oh, I might just knock over those little blocks and stacks that you have. I might just cross them out. So anyway, really fun, really interesting, and go there, people. You will not be disappointed. And hold up that book one more time. We want to show that even more accessibility and the reasoning behind what Jonily has done and developed over the years. There is a math story for herself that I think your mouth might go about. So I'm just that's a little bit of a hint there. So please come on Saturday. We showed the link there. Grab that book from Amazon, from Barnes Noble, from whomever. I'm sure Jonily will probably give you a signed copy. There's so many important things to really see this perspective on this, and I love it. Melissa's like, very interesting information. Yes, Miss Melissa, we would love for you to know even more. If you are a parent, if you are a teacher, if you're just somebody who yourself thought, maybe I missed something in math. Well, come on in, see what can happen. I will tell you what.
It's such a fun story.
Wow.
And April, you put this story together with the math content, and it's really a beautiful, entertaining journey. And I'll tell you, we've got holidays coming up. So if you know a teacher, grab this, grab a whole school load of these at Amazon. If if you've got a kiddo that's in elementary school and you've got an elementary school, grab 30 books. And these are great teacher gifts and even fun for the parents. So these are really, really great holiday gifts coming up. You can get your copies, Mickey Mathaniers, at Amazon, and enjoy just a really beautiful, different twist on mathematical stories.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. Thank you, Miss Jonily. Thank you, Melissa, for commenting and being a part of this as well. Catch the replay. Let things know. Oh, we got another question from Miss Melissa. Is there a website for Miss Jonily?
Yes. You can find me at mindsonmath.com. Mindsonmath.com. Or you can find me at jonily.com. And if you want to connect, there are places to connect there. You can subscribe or contact me at mindsonmath.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa, for asking such a great question. And if there's anything else happening out there, Miss Jonily, like she said, every month, at least one time a month, the information is going out there. And it's free, guys. It's free. Look at Miss Melissa. She's like, mindsonmath.com. That's it. That's it. Head on over there, see what you can see, invite those teachers because they will be like, what? And hopefully, eventually, this is going to change the perspective. Could you imagine if your child came home and started to wonder about things? Hey, Mom, I'm noticing this. You'd probably be like, what? And the idea and the concept of this, we want great thinkers, right? Who out there is going to help solve the challenges that we face today? Thinkers are that's who's going to do that. So we need to teach our children how to think in order for them to help really understand the challenges that are there so they can make better choices. So, the future is there for them. Let's give them that leg up so success can happen. Thank you so much, Jonily. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody.